I prefer texting.
I prefer to talk to them directly.
I prefer real life, face-to-face.
Like in person, face-to-face.
With people in person.
For friends that live far away, I guess I use Facebook and, social networking and stuff like that. But for my local friends, I just hang out with them.
We like to do stuff after school more than texting. Like, we see each other all the time.
I pretty much just text people, but I'd prefer to hang out in person or talk on the phone.
Probably texting or calling, and I prefer it because it's just easier and faster to communicate.
I text some people just to meet them again, but I'd rather spend it with people face to face instead of, looking at a phone screen or whatever.
Not technology. I like communicating socially. I like having fun with people, like going to the movies.
I think technology limits our interactions with others because people just get so comfortable texting or emailing or Facebook, and it's kind of limits your social skills because people don't know how to engage in conversation properly anymore.
Nowadays, you don't call people, you text them.
With technology, you can't really have that connection with somebody.
We lose the human interaction, and there's a lot of things you can't pick up over a text.
Unless I'm trying to avoid someone, then I'll text them, but if it's somebody I actually like, then I like to see them.
You just kind of need to get out more and talk face to face with people.
Through technology, people can hide a lot of things. You don't really see their expressions, you don't really see their body language.
When you talk to someone and you get to spend time with them, it's more special than when it is on a computer.
When was the last time you legit hung out with someone in the same room?
Technology has made people all over the world more available to one another in so many ways.
Phone calls and texting have made it so easy to connect at any time of the day or night.
But other technologies like Uvu, Skype, and FaceTime bring people right into your room, in a sense.
But can technology replace face-to-face communication?
Does technology interfere with the way we communicate on a human level?
Are we losing the ability to talk face-to-face with one another?
Face-to-face, presence is 90%. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Justin.
And I'm Vanessa.
And this is
Real Faith TV. The majority of the teens on the street said that they communicate by texting most of the time.
But they also agreed that it isn't always the best way to spend time with a friend.
Our spotlight guest, Kristen, is an RFTV cast member.
She shares with us some of the advantages and disadvantages of using technology to communicate with one another.
Let's meet her now.
There's a few people who were kind of in my community at school, and they would reach out and text me or contact me on Facebook, and they needed some advice or something or help in their faith journey. And it's things that they wouldn't just come up to me at school because we're not good friends. They felt more safe behind that barrier, and typing something out to someone, and you can really proofread it and read it over, and you have more time to think before you speak. There's a couple people that I would help out and talk to and help them grow in their faith, and we started talking through the computer. But then as we grew closer and started talking more, I would have those face-to-face conversations with them. So sometimes it's good not to depend fully on the technology, but to use it as maybe a stepping ground to slowly come out of your comfort zone and talk to someone. And once you realize, I've been emailing this person for a while now and they seem like someone I could trust, maybe I feel more comfortable approaching them in person. There's really nothing like sitting down with someone and having that eye contact, that personal connection when you're with someone. And you really get to know them more because everyone has their own tone of voice and way of saying things and their mannerisms. And that's something you definitely lose over text. All these changes are happening around us in the world, but we don't have to change with the world. We're not supposed to conform to the world. We're supposed to be transformed by God and stand out as Christians. And Jesus doesn't want us to be disconnected. He wouldn't want us to be sitting here ignoring people right next to us. It's a choice. And if technology moves in that way where a lot of things are not face-to-face, we have to stand our ground. Sometimes it's a hard time for us as Christians. It's just remembering who we are, and that will give us strength. That no matter what happens, no matter what other people are doing, we can still encourage those around us and shine to them. Be like, you know what, I'm gonna pick up the phone and call you today. Or instead of texting them, say, hey, let's go meet for coffee. Because I've done that before. It's a lot of fun. Meeting with people is not boring.
I agree with Kristen. It can be difficult to determine what people mean through text and how they're feeling.
Yeah, a lot is said with facial expressions and body postures.
I know what you mean. Let's see what our studio guests have to say about technology and human interaction.
Okay, they are Colin, Allie, Ariana, Drew, Danielle, and Sarah.
Guys, I have a question for you. Does technology limit the way we communicate?
I don't think it really does because, it helps you really communicate, because there's people all across the world that you want to like talk to, and if you can't get someone through a text, you could always message them on Facebook. And I feel like it's easier to text someone or call someone rather than actually talking to them face to face.
I agree with Colin. Like, if you have a family member that's all the way in another country or something, and you want to talk to them, you could probably like go on video with them and be like, "Hi, how are you doing?" and have a normal conversation. Or you could talk to somebody across the country, like via text or Facebook or anything like that. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, because I have family in India, and the way I communicate with them is through email or through like video chat or whatever, because it's easier and I can talk to them, see how they're doing, they can see how I'm doing, and it's a great way to connect with my family.
I think that the things that you guys said are true, and that if we actually use technology like that, the way that it's intended, then it would be okay. But I think that sometimes we abuse the privilege of having the technology. Like, there are so many times when I've just been trying to have a conversation with a friend and all they're doing is just sitting there texting.
God made us physical beings.
Our bodies are who we are.
They are filled with our souls, and the body reveals the person.
Our bodies can do amazing things, like speak over the phone and text.
But they were also created to interact on a more immediate, personal level.
Our presence is a gift we share with one another.
Has all this technology pulled us away from face-to-face contact?
Has it made it more difficult for us to express our feelings openly and honestly, in person?
Has it made us awkward and uneasy when speaking to somebody?
Let's see if the teens on the street think that technology makes it harder to feel comfortable talking to one another face-to-face.
Okay, let's check it out.
Young people now have trouble communicating face-to-face, and they just hide behind their computer screen or phones and don't really like to show emotion.
I guess a little bit. It depends how confident you are. You definitely need to be confident to hold a conversation.
Young people nowadays have a really hard time like talking to each other in person and like really communicating with each other.
I think people think it's more awkward to share their feelings with each other in person.
I guess it's probably because of technology, because people just can be really awkward sometimes.
I don't think so. I mean, I've grown up with technology for like my whole life, and I can still have social skills.
I think that a lot of people have kind of lost the ability to hold a conversation because they're so used to texting and computers, but I feel like for me, I haven't, because I'm still one of those people that just likes to go out and talk to people.
As we lose touch of each other through technology and all that, like, we become really just desensitized. I don't know, we forget that we're all humans and we see each other as messages on a phone.
Do you guys agree with the teens on the street?
Have we lost the art of personal communication?
I don't think we lost it, because I have an example. When I was in school, I was talking to this girl, and I mean, she was really shy, but when we were texting, we would get into really serious conversations, and it was really nice. And I was just like, why don't we talk about how we talk on a text message? She's like, because people are gonna think I'm weird. I'm like, well, why would they think you're weird? And she's like, because I'm shy. I think you should really just be out there, and who cares what people think? So then now she can actually talk to people without texting.
I think that we kind of have in a way, only because when you're texting or when you're on a computer in a way, you can't convey the same kind of emotions and feelings and mannerisms that you have in real life when you're talking. Like, I can't convey hand gestures like I am over a phone. So I feel like in a way that detracts from like technology in a way when you're communicating.
I don't think that I've personally lost the art of communicating, but I definitely think that there are people who have. Like, so many of my friends tell me these stories about how their boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with them over text, and things like that just aren't appropriate. Like, they've become so accustomed to doing everything over text that they don't say, you know, the important things in person like they should.
Yeah, definitely, especially for when I hear about people who break up over text and stuff. I think they do it because they're afraid of the person's reaction, like sadness, or like if they start, you know, getting emotional or something. So I think technology sort of presents that barrier, so like a shield from the other person, that you don't have to like look at them or anything.
I don't think it's like completely made us lose the way that we communicate, but I think that if it keeps escalating, like more ways to talk to each other without actually being with each other, then people are going to lose that sense, and then nobody's going to be able to like communicate with each other. All you'll know is like texting or messaging or something like that.
There are many ways we can hide behind computers and phones.
They sometimes give us a false sense of courage or comfort.
Sending a message gets us off the hook from having to face that person.
Let's go back to the teens on the street and hear how they've hidden behind the screen.
I don't think I have a story because I usually make sure that I call them or see them in person if it's something important. I don't see why you wouldn't.
When my grandma passed away, I didn't want to share that with anyone in person because I didn't want to show how upset I was. So I just kind of texted my friends and said, like, I can't hang out.
There are times where I have avoided a human, face-to-face contact because, bad situation and I was afraid of getting punched in the face. But I would never do anything like actually serious, like breaking up with a girl or asking her out.
I told this guy I liked him, and it was really awkward because we were like really good friends. And then after that, it was just like from there, it was just really awkward. He didn't want to talk to me, and we weren't friends anymore.
Me and my friend were in a fight, so I said some meaner things over the texting than I would in person, and it was easier that way.
I actually didn't tell my friend the truth, and I actually told her on the internet. And it was really awkward the next day because we're local friends, and it's really just better. If it's important stuff, just say it in person.
This kid that I was talking to once, I didn't really want to talk to him anymore, so rather than it being kind of weird and telling him to leave me alone in person, I just texted him, which I guess is kind of bad, but yeah.
Similar to the teens on the street, Kristen shares examples of how technology can give us the nerve to say or do things outside our comfort zone.
Let's hear her now.
One of my friends, she was a little nervous about like social situations and stuff, and she had little social anxiety. She was really popular on Facebook. She'd be talking to everybody, and she had a lot of friends, a lot of wall posts and stuff. And then when she was in school, she was always very quiet and kind of shy and a little awkward, and she'd have trouble communicating with those people. I'd be walking with her, and she's like, oh, we need to walk fast. Like, I don't want to say hi to them. I'm like, you talk to them all the time. Like, you're always texting them. Why is that a problem for you? It was kind of sad. I mean, she's a lot better now because she knew it was a problem and she worked on it. But for a while there was just some disconnect between how she talks to people and feels comfortable without face-to-face and the way she would relate in person. It was just more awkward, and you notice the difference. When it comes to saying things that you don't have the courage to say in person, one of my friends a few years ago was going to work on this play or this project that they were working on, and I was reading the script, and some of it was just like really, it was weird. It wasn't appropriate, and there was a lot of like bad language and bad jokes and stuff, and I didn't really feel comfortable being part of that, but I'd already come to the meeting and everything. So because I was like 14 years old and a coward, I went on Facebook and was just like, my schedule conflicts with your meetings and I don't want to do this. And then I became really good friends with them, and years later I sat down with them in person. I was like, I have to be honest with you. I should have just told you in person. I didn't really agree with what you were doing and I didn't think it was right. And they said, I realized it later too, and I wish you would talk to me about that. So maybe if I had said something in person or just been honest and had the courage to go up to them and talk about it, would have been different.
I think that texting and calling someone has their own time and place. I feel like texting is just for everyday conversation and small talk, but when you call somebody, it's for something like really important, because if someone was to call me, I would be like, so what's up? What do you need? I wouldn't,
I'd have to agree. I think that it's good to start a friendship or a relationship with talking in person so that you can, work from that. And then if it's hard to see each other or hang out, then you can have that conversation online. Because I know for me, there was this one guy who I'm like really close friends with, but when we hang out in person, we don't really know what to talk about because we're so used to talking online. And since he's shy, he doesn't really, have that courage to step up and say something and see my reaction to it. He feels safer just saying it online.
I feel like a lot of people have, it's easier to say things online. Like when I got bullied like a year or two ago, and some people just made a really rude Facebook page saying like if Colin's gay, and then it's like it gets me aggravated because anyone can say it online.
And when I was bullied, it was all through the text message, and it was all cyberbullying.
Last year, I ended a friendship with someone, but I did it over text, and I didn't really feel right about it. So the next day, I went up to them and had a face-to-face conversation with them about what happened and how I felt. Hiding behind a phone screen isn't what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, stick by your words and have courage to tell them to their face that, I can't be in this friendship anymore.
In the beginning, God created Adam, and even though he was in the Garden of Paradise,
he was lonely and wanted one thing more.
He wanted a companion, the presence of another person like him.
God created Eve so that Adam would be happy.
so that he would know the physical presence,
the look,
the gestures,
and the body language of another person.
God looked at creation and said Adam's loneliness was not good.
As humans, we need the physical contact of others.
So, how important is it for you to be physically present with a friend or loved one, and why?
I think it's very important because it's one thing to text, but when you're actually with them, you're took time off from your day to spend time with them and comfort them, give them a hug, give them a shoulder to lean on. It really means something to them because they know that you actually care.
I was at my friend's house, and my other friend who lives right next door to me was like calling me. I'm like, hello? She's like crying. So I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, I need someone to talk to. I'm like, I'm at my friend's house. She's like, I really need someone to be there. So then I said to my friend, I gotta go, and I ran home to her. And good thing I did, because she really had something on her mind that she needed off. And she was just like, thank you so much for being here. And like Drew said, you have a shoulder to lean on, and you give them a hug, and you can be like, everything's gonna be all right.
Same with Colin. Everyone has a bad day, and everyone has a day where either it's just been a rough one or all your insecurities are coming out. And when you look down at your phone, you can read something that is supposed to be loving, but you don't feel the closure that every human being needs.
Yeah, like when you're with people, you can tell like if they're upset by the way they talk or the way they give you a look or something, or just how quiet they're being. But when you're texting somebody, it's pretty easy to cover those things up. I mean, it is in person too, but over text, you can act like you're totally happy, you just had the best day of your life, when really you're like crying your eyes out.
Exactly. I totally agree with you with that. Like, nothing speaks volumes like the tone in someone's voice. Like, I feel like if we just had technology, we wouldn't know what emotions were, because we wouldn't know what anger was. We wouldn't know what crying was if we just talked like through a phone, through a computer screen. At least when we're talking face to face, we have more experience dealing with emotions almost, and it just makes it that much more personal, just knowing that someone's there for you, even if they don't speak or anything, just knowing someone's there and there's not just a piece of like plastic sitting there like talking to you. So
I agree with you guys, but I think it also has to do with respect. I think that if you're going to be with someone, then they deserve your respect, and you shouldn't be, giving your attention to somebody else. You should be giving your attention to the people you're with, so that the people, that are near to you don't feel like they're less important than your cell phone or the person that you're talking to on your cell phone.
Suppose we actually had to talk to someone instead of texting.
What if we didn't have access to computers or phones?
Next, Kristen shares how being without is sometimes a whole lot more.
Let's check it out.
There's a lot of retreats I've been on where letter writing is a huge part of it, and where you actually put your phones in a box at the beginning of the retreats. And without the phones or anything around us distracting us, people were giving 100% and really just brought it to a more personal level when you took away the hiding behind a phone or something like that. And it's funny, when they do the small groups, there's always two people who the leaders say they can't be in the same small group. They've had problems for years. There's gossip, there's drama, there's fighting, just everybody's face to face for 4 days. You see a lot of people open up and they'll say, hey, let's go talk in the corner for a few minutes. And it was really beautiful because you saw a lot of friendships mended just by honest face-to-face communication, and a lot of times you see people hugging it out. They had a lot of courage to say things that maybe they wouldn't even have the courage to do it hiding behind a computer. I know those people now, and they're a lot stronger and they are close, and it was a much better healing process than if someone had just sent you a message one day and you ignored it or something like that. I think face-to-face, you can't just ignore a conversation with someone. If someone sends you an email, you can say, oh, I never got it, or put it in your trash can. But if it's in person with someone, you can't really ignore that, and you need to address that problem with them. You need to work through it with them. My family and I went on a mission trip to Jamaica. We had a silent retreat, which was really, really hard. It was kind of boring the first couple days, but then I got used to it. And doing service with people, we were out in different centers with the poor, and we were face to face with them. And after a while, I totally forgot about the phone, and I was relying just on meeting new people, which I have a lot of problems. I'm kind of awkward sometimes, and I didn't want to meet new people. And then after a while, I came out of my comfort zone. And when I came back from that, my sister and I were like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't want to play video games. I don't really want to sit on the computer. I don't want to sit on the phone, because when you're taken away from that, you realize that you don't need any technology. These people have nothing, they're very poor, and they're the happiest people ever. Having Christ present in your life, that's really all you need. And it's great when you realize, I don't need this. I don't need to be dependent on this, and we can go back to old school and just talk to everybody.
Can you think of a time or situation when nothing but your presence was needed?
I'd have to say, being a freshman in high school and when my brother was a senior in high school, just the drives down to school and back from school, we didn't want to be on our phones then. And that time together with my brother was probably the most meaningful time I've ever had with them. There was no need for technology because I didn't want to be distracted by the time that I had with my brother.
There was one time at play practice at school, I found a girl that I knew, but I wasn't good friends with, and she was just like crying in the corner. I knew that I had to be there, so I just went over to her, sat next to her. I didn't say anything. We didn't talk for like 20 minutes, and then like a day later, she came up to me and she was like, you know, even though you didn't talk to me or anything like that, it was really great of you to like sit next to me even though we barely know each other. That shows that there's a huge difference between technology and actually being there. You don't even have to talk.
When I think of someone's presence being meaningful and just that, I think of when I was at my grandfather's funeral or at the viewing. There were people who I didn't know, who knew him, who just came up to me and, you know, said, "I'm sorry for your loss." And then there were my friends who he didn't know, who came to show their support for me. And their presence there was so comforting and so good feeling.
I think of the time when my grandmother lived with us before she passed away. And even though she couldn't talk, she couldn't move, I would sometimes just sit in her room and talk to her. And I felt a special connection with her. Just sitting there and just gave me comfort, and being able to spend time with my grandmother was the greatest gift I've ever gotten.
We all seem to agree that there are times we simply must and should be present for one another.
We asked the teens on the street if Jesus would prefer being face-to-face.
Or would he use technology to get his message across?
Let's see what they thought.
Jesus is a lovable guy, and he wants everyone to love one another and to be happy. So I would assume that whatever a person feels comfortable with, either texting or face-to-face, Jesus would.
I think he would probably be talking more through technology because that's how everybody communicates now.
I definitely think if Jesus was in the world, he would always be face-to-face. I don't think he would like the technology very much.
I think Jesus would spend more face-to-face time with people.
Face-to-face, definitely. I think he would spend time face-to-face with people.
He would like to see people and not just hide behind something and try to communicate that way.
Definitely with this story face to face, because I feel like he's not only old school, but like he just wants everyone to just interact with each other and, you know, be connected, I guess.
God felt that physical presence was so important that he sent his son, Jesus, to be present with us here on earth.
He still remains with us today in the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist.
He remains within us every day in the way we interact with one another.
Next, Kristen shares examples from Jesus' life that shows us how important physical presence is.
Let's go to the wall.
I think Jesus would definitely be face-to-face because in his ministry, he was very public. He was going up to people, shaking hands, reaching out to people, and he liked sitting down, having that conversation. Jesus wants to have a personal relationship with us and know us very well and intimately. Why would he go through technology if he were here today? And Jesus would come right up to you and give you a big hug and say, "Hey, how are you?" and talk to you like family. And there's a story of the hemorrhaging woman, and she reaches out and touches Jesus to be healed, and he knows right away. There's the whole thing of, if I touch him, he will heal me. So in the Bible, there's that thing of touch. Jesus places such a big focus on presence and being with him and spending time with him. You can't just sit on your computer and read stuff and expect to have a real relationship with Jesus. He wants to be real to us. And to be real to someone, just real to one of your friends, go over to their house, you sit with them, you eat dinner with their family. It's your presence that matters. We're supposed to be like Christ to other people. So, passing it on. Jesus is present here with us. He's in our hearts. So we say, okay, I'm going to go be Jesus to someone else. I'm going to be present with them and care about them. Because texting someone saying, "I'm here for you," they understand, thanks, like I know I can call you when I need something. But actually being physically with them and saying, "I'm here for you," it definitely carries a lot more weight. There's many aspects of our faith that you have to be physically present for. And you can't get that through some technological means. When we receive the Eucharist, that's real. The priest puts it in our hands. That's Jesus' body and blood poured out for us. That's not something you can get any other way by being present with Jesus. And from that moment when you receive him, He's present in you and he's present in our lives. It's not something you can just replace with technology. Your presence is a big part of our faith. There's a lot of different events at different conferences, but even just the simplicity of the Mass, of shaking hands with the person next to you, of being there, of being in a church, of physically seeing all your brothers and sisters in the faith and knowing that they all believe. It's something that you really can't replace with anything else.
So how do you or should you make yourself present to others, just like Jesus is for us?
By just listening to them and putting down our phones and stop texting and be like, I'm here for you, let's just hang out for once.
I think technology is so easy because we could just reach for our phone in our pocket or just go to our rooms and go on our computers and, talk to people that way. But I think when we actually make the effort to physically be there for somebody, they recognize the effort that you put into it and it's meaningful. And I think they really appreciate it more if you put the effort out.
Jesus was present everywhere. He's present with us in the Mass. Just imagine all the different Bible stories that would be different if Jesus wasn't present. So taking an example from him, if we're present like he is in someone else's life, then we could just make volumes of change.
Transubstantiation is the teaching that during the Mass, at the consecration, in the Lord's Supper,
bread and wine are transformed into the body and blood of Jesus.
And that they are no longer bread and wine,
but only retain their appearance of bread and wine.
Jesus is truly present among us and within us as we receive the Eucharist.
If God felt that strongly about being present to us as one of us,
shouldn't we also be present to our friends, neighbors, and loved ones?
And we'll leave you today with this from Philippians chapter 2.
He emptied himself,
taking the form of a slave,
coming in human likeness,
and found human in appearance.
Remember that God didn't write us a letter. He came to us in person.
He brought his message of love and salvation in the most personal way that humans can relate, face to face.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV.
God bless.